Okay, guys, we are going to dive right into this. I am here with Jennifer Roskamp. How are you?
I am good, thank you. It's exciting to
Very,
be here.
very good. Yes, I love having people on that I look up to, especially when it comes to your experience, not only in your business, but also in your life. I'm always amazed by the amount that you are able to accomplish in a day. So, for those that don't know, Jennifer writes the intentionalmom.com, and she's going to be talking to us a little bit about productivity. But first, before we get there, I actually was hoping to ask you a couple different questions about your previous experience. What did you do before having an online business?
Well, actually, I had a blog way back in the day on Blogspot when that's what people did in the mid 2000s. So I actually got my feet wet with blogging then. That was around for maybe 2 or 3 years. And that was just more of a way to keep my family in touch with, what was going on and that kind of thing. And then actually, I've been writing professionally for 9 years. So writing is something that has come naturally to me because I've been doing it for so long. So I wrote basically like obituaries, kind of like longer versions of those. So, for a local company here. So that's how I got into writing.
Okay, very good. And you've had the intentionalmom.com for how long now?
It started in March of 2015. So just over 2 years.
2 years. Okay, excellent. That is great. So now, what would you say is the toughest part about being an entrepreneur?
Um, I think it's doing the things you don't like to do. I like the writing part, and I'm starting to like different parts too, but there are certainly different parts that I don't like. And until you're large enough and earning enough income to be able to hire some of the stuff out that you don't like to do, you're stuck doing it. So I think for me, that's been the hardest part, is just having to learn and do all the things that I don't necessarily like to do, but come with the package.
Okay. Yes, no, definitely. There are definitely some things that I have learned to now hire out because we can, but because I struggled with it so much.
Yeah, they're on my list. They're on my list.
Yes, just to be able to hand off, right? It'll be that relief that you get when you're able to do that for sure. Now,
Yeah.
one of the other things, so I kind of alluded to it a little bit too in the beginning, is that you are a mom, and I get overwhelmed as a mom of two children, and you are a mom of
8. 8.
and they're not like you have like a baby pretty much, right? How old is your youngest?
Yeah. She just turned 1.
My goodness. And your oldest is
16. Yep.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. Yeah. So you've got 8 kids, plus you're running an online business and very successful with it. I see you constantly all over Facebook. You're doing a Facebook Live. You're on TV. You've got, I don't know how you're doing the TV spots, because don't you have to get up for those segments like ridiculously early and get there to be able to do them?
Luckily, the segment that I'm most often on doesn't start till 9, so I don't have to be there too early. So it's
Oh.
great.
That's
So,
perfect.
yeah.
Okay. Well, you get so, like, anytime I've spoken to you, I always feel like you've done probably the amount that I get done in a day, you've done in about 5 hours. So I feel like your productivity level is just amazing. I'd love to know some of the systems that you have in place so that you can be so efficient.
Sure. Yeah. I think you talked about my family. As my family has grown, I've had to become more, I've had to up my game in the productivity area because, time doesn't increase. So it's a matter of I've gotten very smart because I've had to. So, yeah.
Very good. Now, are there specific things that you have in place for your business as well as for your family in order to keep everybody kind of like on a schedule? Or like, do you have like one of those, because we have like a huge calendar in our kitchen that we kind of say, okay, this is what's going on with the kids and this is what's going on with my husband's schedule. And it's kind of like the family command zone. Do you do something like that, or what do you have in place?
Yeah, we do. I have my planner, which is really where everything goes. And then because I have older kids too, like we all use the Cozy app. Like we love the Cozy app. So that's, my husband uses that. I use that. My oldest 3 kids use that, and the older 3 kids will look in it for the younger kids because their activities are all in there. And it's really cool because my kids are in charge of filling their own stuff in, and they've learned that if it's not in the calendar and you come to me and say, oh, hey, by the way, I forgot that I needed to be here and it's not in the calendar, you might be out of luck. And my kids just kind of know that, because you got to tell me ahead of time when you have something come up, you need to be brought somewhere, whatever it is. So Cozy, that Cozy app, and it's a free, calendar thing. You can use it on your phone. You can go to it in your computer. It's all free. And so that's really the place that everything is the most.
I love that. I had never heard of that before. And I love the fact that you give the kids the responsibility, especially the older ones, the responsibility of saying, okay, this is where I need to be. These are the different activities, the places that I have to be. So they're being held accountable to that. That is great.
Yep.
Now, what does your typical workday look like? How does it start? Like, give me the run through, like, times. And I'm sure people are going to hear this and be like, holy crap, I don't do half of that.
Well, it starts with a plan. So it always has to start with a plan. And, plans don't always go according to plan, but you have to start with a plan. So that's one of the big things that I talk about is you have to start with something. If you expect to just go throughout your day and just haphazardly get, this and that done, it's most likely not going to happen. So my typical day starts at 5 a.m. It's not that bad. It sounds bad and it sounds scary, but it's really not. So from 5 to 8 a.m. is when I do those are like my big office hours. So that's when I do my hardest things because it's quiet. It's the only time I have that it's quiet, A lot of people will have quiet at night. Well, I've got teens. So my teens are up at night. It's not just me putting my little kids to bed. And, my teens aren't, but they'll want to talk and this and that. So the bulk of my office work stuff, the really hard stuff, like we'll talk in a little bit about how I batch tasks and stuff. So that 5 to 8 segment is when I do that. And if I get nothing else done that day, at least I've gotten the important stuff done. So that's another reason why, I do that right away in the morning is because anything else is just a bonus if it actually gets done, and theoretically it does get done, but I've gotten the hard stuff. The stuff that brings me the biggest ROI is done first. So that's my 5 to 8 time block. And my kids usually get up around 7:30 or so. So that last half hour is, a little bit less focused for me, but for the most part, it still is there. Around 8, I go to the gym. It's an important thing for me to do. But even while I'm there, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to webinars. It's a way that I can justify giving that time to myself. It's something that I enjoy. I'm big into racing and stuff like that. It's a big part of who I am, but then I'm still being productive even when I'm there. So I do that, and then I come home and it's my shower time. And then after that, it's kind of family then, so because I homeschool my kids. So then it's school for the next hour and a half or so.
Wait a second. Wait. I did not realize you homeschooled too. Oh,
yeah.
You are a saint. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't realize that.
That's okay. It's not, I don't fit the mold, I think. I think there's kind of the mold. So I'm not, it's there. But so then we do school stuff, usually like from, 9:30. Well, no, it's about 10 till about 11, 11:30, 12, somewhere in there is school time with some of my kids. And then after that, I go back to like during the lunchtime hour because my kids can handle lunch. My older kids handle that. So that's a time for me to be working. That's another office hours, but I'm not closed up in my office. It's when I'm working there in the living room or in the kitchen and I'm getting those more mindless tasks done because I'm still part of the family. I'm still mom, but I'm kind of multitasking there. So I do have to schedule my work carefully because it has to be work that needs concentration and work that doesn't. So these are all the things that I've learned to kind of figure out over the years. So I get maybe an hour in over lunchtime, and then it's nap time for the littles, and then it's school time for the older kids, and then I've got about an hour of I'm in my office, don't bother me office hours again. And, my kids know the rule is blood or vomit. If there's not either one of those things, do not bother me. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's another thing too, is that especially because I have my kids all around me, as a work at home mom, your family has to respect your time too. And so they're not always so good at remembering. Even my husband can sometimes be really bad at remembering, but that's where the closed door helps. And even if you don't have an office, like I'm not always in my office. Sometimes my kids overtake my office and I'm just in my bedroom. But they know that when the door is closed, it's like they'll be coming to talk to me and then they'll get to the closed door and they'll be like, oh, right, mom's working, and they'll walk away. And so it is really important, I find, when you have your family around you to have those dedicated office hours when you're behind a closed door. And that's when you can really be productive. So I have a little bit of that in the afternoon, like till about 4, and then it's up from nap time. And then I'm on family time really from like 4 until like 8:30. Mm-hmm. And I might get a few little haphazard work tasks done here and there. But for the most part, I'm dealing with dinner. I'm driving my kids where they need to go, that kind of thing. So that's family time again. And then I'm back to kind of my office hours from like 9 until midnight. That's again, but that's kind of interrupted time. It's available. I'm not in my office. I'm working in my living room. So I'm available, that kind of thing. So for me, it's a balance between quiet time. This is my office time behind a closed door. And this is my family time and I'm not doing any work, or I might sneak in a half hour here or there of work time in the midst of family stuff.
Okay. Can we go back to the closed door, especially the afternoon one? Because I think I'm struggling with that right now with my kids. And especially with summer coming, it's making me really like almost anxious about it.
Yeah.
Just because I tell them, okay, I'm going to be on the phone for 15 minutes. I have a 15-minute call. That's all I need is 15 minutes. And within literally 30 seconds, they're fighting and screaming and it's chaos. Yeah. What age do you think that they can kind of understand that? And like, how do you, like, when they interrupt it, what's a good way to kind of sidetrack them? Because I'm big on, getting them to do a different task. Right. Or should I set them up with a task beforehand so that they're busy with it? That's it.
Okay. So here's my suggestion with that. I have a bin of toys, learning activity, like Melissa and Doug type stuff. Yes. They only get that bin at times like that. So it's basically new stuff. It's stuff they don't see all the time. It's highly engaging. It's stuff they enjoy, but they only get it for that 15 or 20 minutes so that, okay, I'm done with this. We're going to pick this back up. And so, they're a lot of times they're in the middle of it and they're like, oh no, don't take that, but that's what you need. And then that's when you say, but you can have it back tomorrow, and so that's what I find to be so effective with those littler ones like that is they get specific activities, and it doesn't have to be anything fantastic. It's not, you don't have to sit there and plan a whole, who knows what that's going to take you a half hour.
Right.
It's a lot of times it's just a certain, like paint, like the water paint things, if you save certain things that they enjoy doing, and they're things that they enjoy, and you save them for those times, and that's the only time they get them, it's a huge benefit.
That is so smart. Yeah, no, I'm not setting myself up that way. I'm setting myself up saying, hey, listen, mommy's got to get on the phone for 15 minutes. Can you guys stay quiet? And it's like, yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Sure, we can stay quiet. And chaos just erupts. But I love the fact that you say to take it away even after that time is up, even if they are still engaged, so that it doesn't almost lose its kind of like ability to be able to use it. I love that.
And you got to switch it out. At times you got to bring new stuff in there, but it's super effective if you take them with you. And I mean, you can go to those dollar bins at Target, or the dollar store, and they can find these little things, those little foamy craft kits and all that stuff. Yes. You don't have to spend a fortune, but it entertains them, And so, yeah, that's huge. That's been huge.
That's so smart. I know where I'm going after preschool pickup today. All right.
There you go.
One of the things that I constantly hear from students and from other bloggers is that they feel like that productivity, like it's just not it's not a mindset for them. Like it's just not something they can do. They feel like, well, you just move fast. Like you talk fast, you move fast, you get from one thing to the next thing. That's just not my personality. Do you think that it's a mindset or a personality trait?
No, I really don't. I mean, I think it's a commitment. It's a commitment to follow through. is on what you've decided. So like sometimes I'll run into this at night, like because I work up until midnight. And sometimes I'm feeling tired, like at 11:15, and I'll start to feel like, oh my gosh, I just want to be done. But it's a commitment to myself that I said, I am going to work until midnight. And it's where that commitment comes in. And that's where you remember, like, what is my motivation for what I'm doing this for? For me, I want to be able to, what's your why? It's a matter of knowing your why. I want to be able to provide my family with fun opportunities that we wouldn't have otherwise if I wasn't working and bringing in this income. And so when you start to feel like you want to let that commitment go and that follow through just fall off, that's when you remember, oh, that's right. I'm doing this so that we can go to the amusement park this summer and we can do all of this stuff that I knew we wouldn't, that I know we wouldn't do otherwise. And so I don't think it's a mindset. I think it's a commitment, and you have to, just like with anything, you have to stick through with that commitment, even when it's hard. But knowing your why and coming back to that why helps you stick with it.
I love that. Now, when you talk about having a plan, do you set your plan the night before and have it all set up for the next day? Or do you do weekly, like your schedule? Or how do you go about setting it up so that you're ready to go like that morning at 5 a.m.?
Yeah, you do. You have to get yourself ready the night before. So like a lot of it's knowing kind of what your trigger things are. So if I don't have a couple of things, like for me, I get out of bed and I have to do something active like right away. And I'm not talking like workout or anything. I'm talking about I'm groggy, I'm sleepy. So I get up and I always make sure that I leave myself a load of laundry to start or to switch from the washer to the dryer, and that kind of gets me up and gets me moving. If I know myself well enough to know that if I get out of bed and I go sit right back down on the couch to start working, I'm going to be dragging. So I might get something ready in the crock pot for dinner. I have set it up where I have to do something active right away because I know that about myself. So the night before, I'll make sure that I've got a plan for something slightly active like that to do. So that's a big thing for me. Making sure I have my stuff together right away. Like, I always need my planner. I always need my blog planner. I always need my computer and all that stuff. I always make sure that's not MIA. Because who wants to get out of bed, when you know that you've got, and my house has to be relatively picked up, even if I'm hiding my clutter. A lot of people know I have some famous like crap baskets. I'm famous for crap baskets. Like people, right. And I have places where I necessarily hide the clutter. It might not necessarily be put away right, but who wants to get out of bed and step on toys while you're walking? Like nobody wants to do that. So that's another part of it is you kind of got to prepare your environment. You got to get your supplies ready. And you have to work with yourself in the way that you need, which for me is that active part right away. And then once I get up and I do that and I have a handful of chocolate chips, that's my other secret weapon every morning. I have to have some chocolate chips and then I'm ready to go,
Right. You know your triggers. I think that's great. And you have a great routine too. Like being a former teacher, I'm very routine oriented. Like there's schedules and we eat at pretty much the same time every day. Like it's just consistency. I think it just makes me flourish and it makes my kids flourish. They know what to expect. They know what's coming next. And I always think that that's just beneficial. There's no anxiety involved.
Yeah. Well, and you're not wasting your brain power thinking like, oh, what do I do now? It's like, Yes. Save those brain cells for the hard stuff.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, yes. So you mentioned briefly batching tasks. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So this is something I've been doing for maybe like 6 or 8 months, and I find this to be so effective. So like each day of the week for me, and I even do this with housework. Like I've done this with housework for forever. Like this is the day that I do my meal planning. This is the day that I do as much meal prep work as I can. These are the 2 or 3 days we do laundry, and they're always that day. Office day, that's always been huge for me. Like from a homemaking standpoint, those are the days I pay bills. Those are the days I set up appointments, deal with all that kind of stuff. So it's the same so it was easy for me to make the shift into my business. So for me, like on Mondays, that's my days that I deal with brands. That's when I'm do my brand work. Tuesdays, that's my social media day. Wednesday, that's my office day. Thursday, that's my product creation day. Friday, that's the day I write all my blog posts for the week. I write them all there. And the reason I find that to be effective is because you're already in that frame of mind. You're not having to shift gears all the time. Shifting gears it just takes time. It takes time for you to kind of like warm up into the next activity. And so when you don't have to do that, you save yourself so much. So those are always, tasks that I batch on certain days of the week. And then my email responses, that always happens in the afternoon. You know how I mentioned I have those, more brainless thinking things to do?
Yes.
That's when I'm responding to emails that I get. That's always in the afternoon. So I'm not checking my email at 10 or 11 a.m. I'm just not. I'm checking it in the afternoon. So you don't realize how much time you waste when just, I'm going to quick check my email. And you might think, I'm just going to check for that one email, but you get sucked in. You really do, And so when you have those targeted times that you're checking email and maybe, so I always check it in the afternoon and in the evening. And that's the only time. And people know that about me too. So like if someone's going to send me an email, I might tell them, okay, well, I'm not going to get to that until the afternoon, or I'm not going to get to that till the evening. So that way I don't have to feel bad that I'm not answering them right away. So they know that to expect that out of me, and like, that's why I find it so effective to do social media all in one day too. Because there's a huge time suck right there.
Right.
For those of us who are still doing our own social media, which I cannot wait to hand that off a little bit more. But for now, but I'm limited, I'm focused on what I need to get done on Tuesday there, and then I'm done, and I do have to check comments, things like that. But that's, again, in that afternoon email time. I'm kind of in that whole response frame of mind. It's quick, it's easy, and I'm out of there, and I'm not getting sucked into who knows what kind of drama,
Right.
So that's how batching tasks works for me with my business.
I love that. I've attempted, so I go through like stints of trying to work with batching. Like I have it set on my calendar, what days are what, and there have been weeks where I've stuck to it. And then when I get into a launch, it's like it all goes to
It does.
All goes to mud.
It does. I will agree. A launch or any kind of launch, it does kind of do that. But yet you still have you still have the bones of that in there, even though you're doing so much more with email and so much more with your list and so much more with that. You still have, the basics of a skeleton in there, most likely, that still is going to make it easier for you than had you had nothing.
Right. No, that's definitely true. So now, how do you get past those days where you just are in a funk? So for example, like after I go to a conference, or if I was on vacation for like a week or something, coming back for me is always hard. Is there something that you kind of like put in place so that can kind of whip yourself back into shape, or any suggestions?
I'm big on incentives. I really am.
Okay.
So if it's going to be a struggle for you to get back to work on that Monday, I would set myself up with an incentive. So I would say something like, okay, I need to, send up this many emails to brands. I need to write this blog post. I need to do all that. And when I get that done, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read a chapter in whatever book I want to read, or I'm going to go to Starbucks and just work there for a little bit, because for me, that's a reward, or I'm just going to take the evening off and play a game with my kids or whatever. So I'm huge for incentives. So whenever I know that I have to do something that's going to be hard for me, I come up with an incentive right away. And sometimes I'll do that like even that first week back from vacation can be a struggle. So,
yes.
Okay, if I actually get all of my tasks done this week, see, like for me, I'm like into bags and that kind of thing. So I'll be like, then I can go to Vera Bradley and I can pick out something, you know? So for me, I'm very motivated by that. So it's all about what motivates you, and what motivates me is reward. And it seems to be an effective, thing for a lot of different people, even our kids, right?
Yes.
Incentives and rewards are big for them. So that's one big way. And I think too, it's just focusing on, when you're going to be a little bit lazier for whatever reason, focus on what brings you the biggest ROI and do that first. And if that's all that gets done, then at least you've gotten done what matters, and the rest can kind of slide. So arrange your schedule such that the ROI stuff gets attacked first. And then you give yourself permission to maybe not get the rest done.
Right. Okay. So now you have an awesome productivity download for my audience. Can you tell them a little bit about what it is, so they're chomping at the bit to get into the show notes to download it?
I do. I have 10 different productivity tips. And these are good for anybody straight across the board from any kind of standpoint, but specifically from a business standpoint. And you'll actually see a lot of the things that we've talked about in there. So I've talked about incentives in there. I talk about getting up early. And, when I work with people, sometimes I do a little bit one-on-one, or when a lot of the challenges that I do, what is early? Early is relative. But the thing is I wish there were a way around saying being an early riser wasn't necessary. But as a business owner, I built my business. Maybe you did too. I built my business on those hours in the morning and those hours at night. And that's, when you have a family and you have a life, you kind of don't have any other options. So that's a suggestion in there, and it gives you a couple easy tips on how to do that. Working in time blocks. We talked about a little bit about that. A time block, you notice how when I told you my office hours, they start at 5, they end at 8.
Right.
I'm big on time blocks, because when you know the start and the end time, especially if it's something that's hard, it's almost like when you have a regular job and you're like, you're off at 5, to know where that end time is so helpful.
Right.
So, and from a good standpoint, when it's something you like to do and you could just do it all day, it's going to help you, focus on some other things. So, time sucks. We don't realize how many things suck away our time. And it's like I said, that little bit there, you go to check that email, the next thing you know, you've wasted 8 minutes. Well, if you do that 4 times a day, what is that? That's almost an hour,
Right.
So recognizing things like that is pretty huge. And then of course you have to write it down. Again, that's another one of those things along with being an early riser. I wish there were, I know that people don't like to hear that sometimes. Like, why do I have to write it down? But if you want it to happen, you have to have a written plan. It's just kind of one of those rules of nature, I think. So that's huge. But then also you have to make sure that you're focusing on yourself. Don't feel bad about taking time for yourself too. Like, it can't all be work. Who can do that, right? Nobody can.
Yes.
So you have to have some time that you have to unwind and just focus on some time for you too. So that is huge. Don't feel bad. I schedule time for myself into my schedule, because if you don't, you won't take it.
Right.
And what's that but a recipe for burnout, And so then you're not accomplishing anything. So that's big. So schedule that in. That's another one of those things that you have to have written down. White space, that's huge too. Do you have that in your day? That's a huge productivity tip. You have to have place for overlap. You have to have empty space. You have to have empty space in your day, and you have to have empty space in your calendar, because we all know life does not go according to plan.
Right.
And if you're already behind the 8 ball, so to speak, by 11 a.m., you're not very motivated to get to the rest of your day. As opposed to if you've got some white space figured into your day, like I have it late morning and late afternoon most days, when something takes longer, that's kind of my overflow time. So I don't ever really feel behind. I know that I have a time coming up where I can catch up. And so I don't feel defeated, because feeling that way and trying to be productive don't often go, they don't work together very well. So that's another huge thing. But just some simple things. They're just like 10 tips that really, I think, make a huge difference. Some of them might be things that you don't necessarily want to hear, but they are important.
Perfect. Well, we have that linked right in the show notes, so you guys can come over and be able to click right over, be able to grab that and download it. Now, Jen, what are some of your projections? I always ask this question. What are some of your projections for 2017? I know.
I have so many. It's hard for me to think about narrowing that down, but I do need to. I need to do a true product launch. I have all of these products, and I've never really done a true product launch with them. So I'm working through some really fantastic course called Sequence to Launch on how to do that.
When this airs, cart is still open, but it closes Friday.
So I'm learning how to do that. That's on my thing for this year. And along with that is funnels, trying to be more productive with my funnels. And then I need to get better with affiliate sales too. I'm trying to master these 3 things. I want to master my own products. I want to master affiliates, and I want to master the product launch thing. So those are things I know a lot about, and I do mediocre with them, but I'm ready to just like up that. So that's where I'm focusing my time, and outsourcing. It's time for me to start outsourcing so I can focus on all that.
Yes. No, when I did finally start to outsource, it made a huge difference because you're able to focus on the things where only you can do it as compared to the mindless social media or answering some emails or whatever it might be, for sure. So Jen, where are some of the best places to find you across social media?
Well, yep, I do a lot of Facebook Lives. So I usually just do one of those on my regular page, the Intentional Mom page on Facebook. But I also have a lot of different challenges. And with each one of those challenges, like I have one that's called Refocus, Recharge, Take Charge.
I would love
and that was a New Year's challenge, but it's relevant. It's a 21-day challenge, and it's relevant to any time. So I do a Facebook Live broadcast in there once a week. So I do some live broadcasting there. I do a lot with my list, I spend a lot of time on emails that go out to my various lists. Like I've got just my regular list, and then I've got lists associated with each challenge, and then I've got a blogging list. And so that's, my email list is where those people really get the most nurturing, I think. So,
yes.
So anyway, and then, I do have posts that go up on the blog every day too. So
excellent.
So I'm there too.
Very good. And you can find Jen over at theintentionalmom.com. Be sure to join on her list because obviously she has a ton of stuff going on. I am on her list and I get all of these great emails that come through probably every other day. I would say you are so good about it because I've joined every single one of your lists. I'm one of those people that I have to be on every category because I'm like, ooh, I want this.
I'm kind of nervous.
Stop it. Get out of here. So all right. Well, Jen, thank you so much for taking the time to coming on and talking to my audience about productivity. It's definitely something that I feel like a lot of us struggle with, especially as moms, and you are just getting it done. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. It was fun.